When I first heard the word solipsism, I thought it referred only to the idea that the self is all that exists, that everything else is just a creation of the mind. However, that's what's known as metaphysical solipsism, but there's another form, less extreme and more intriguing: epistemological solipsism. Epistemological solipsism doesn't go so far as to claim that nothing exists outside the mind. Instead, it says that knowledge of anything beyond one's own mind is uncertain. In short, there's no way to prove an external reality. All we have are sensory impressions, and we assume they correspond to something real. What makes this intriguing is that it isn't just an abstract idea. It happens to be the core of my own epistemology. The only statement I can make without risk of error is, I exist. If I exist, the statement is true. If I don't, then the statement was never made in the first place. Either way, there's no room for it to be wrong. It's the only rational starting point I've heard or thought of. For anyone who's seen the movie, it must be pretty obvious the connection to the ideas explored in The Matrix. Could this all be a simulation? Am I just an idea in the mind of a grander entity? Etc., etc. So where does that leave us? Is there a reasonable way past this problem that's not just arbitrary? The only answer we have is empirical feedback. Take hunger as an example. The sensation of hunger is an undeniable internal state. If I ignore it, the experience intensifies. But if I consume what appears to be food, which I cannot prove belongs to an external reality, several things happen. I sense the taste and texture. I feel the process of eating, and most importantly, the hunger subsides. Does this prove the food was real in the external sense? Not absolutely. The Matrix showed how that could be. The scene with the character Cypher eating steak with Agent Smith, and he says, "I know this steak doesn't exist. I know that when I put it in my mouth, the Matrix is telling my brain that it is juicy and delicious." The point being that it's not absolute, but it does provide consistent, predictable feedback, and that's as close to proof as we can get. So the way forward is: 1. I exist. 2. Sensory data tells me that I appear to exist in an actual reality. 3. Consistent, predictable empirical feedback tells me that I can perceive that reality to at least some degree of accuracy. That's the best we're going to get. However, from that point, we can then build a rational model of reality, even if it's ultimately based on a foundation that's not necessarily absolute. So long as it works, there's no need to fix it, and unless someone happens along with a red pill, it doesn't appear we have a choice anyway. In the end, I'd say I'm an epistemological solipsist, surprisingly enough, though it's really just a philosophical concession. In practice, I'm not holding my breath for Morpheus to show up, nor am I keen on testing the laws of gravity by jumping off a building anytime soon. I'm confident that I do exist in an actual reality, but concede I could be wrong. Thanks for listening to me share my opinions.